in Brooklyn, where you were a councilman for many years. We have Brother Arif, also from Brooklyn, from the Pakistani community. Dr. Hussein, from the Muslim community, Egyptian community. Dr. Mahmoud al-Sharqawi, also the Egyptian community on the side. Anybody here from my community on Coney Island Avenue? Anybody stand up? Come on, stand up, Coney Island Avenue, stand up. I don't remember all the names, but in any case, I'm going to end it short.
Naji has said about the work that we both do is not in isolation, but is always connected with every ethnic and racial and religious group that exists in New York City. And so, us being here today is really a testament to the important work that you believe is important for our community in New York City. So we certainly could not be doing this work without all of you who came today, who gave up your Sunday afternoon to be here with us, to learn and understand the importance of honoring and celebrating this mayor that we have, that has really been one of the best mayors that New York City has had in a very long time, that truly I want you to leave here today knowing that every dollar that you've given to Mayor de Blasio's campaign is going to be well spent, and it is an investment in your future for the next 4 years. So I want to start by first talking about something that really troubled the American Muslim community for years, and that is the NYPD Muslim Spying Program that was initiated by Mayor Bloomberg. I almost had a relapse there. Mayor Bloomberg, which actually was mapping our community and spying on our communities when we found out after the Associated Press. During the campaign, Mayor de Blasio said to us, what are the burning issues that are very important to you? And we told him that the spying program needed to go. Shortly after he became mayor, he dismantled the demographics unit. So I want you to applaud him. He heard our voices and realized that we should be treated just like every other community. And it is unconstitutional for our community to be mapped and spied on. And so thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for honoring that. Secondly, Naji talked about the Muslim holidays. I won't say too much about it. But he promised that to our community, and he delivered that promise. And now every child in New York City can take that day off. But the most wonderful thing about it is every student, and the 1.5 million students in New York City, gets to have that day off and know that it's because of Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Fitr. And they get to know and understand who their peers are and develop a sense of understanding and relationship building and knowing that they're a part of the American fabric. So that is truly a testament to his work. This is the first of its kind that a mayor has decided to designate a post for somebody to work solely on Muslim relations in the city. So that is huge for our community. Sarah, through her work at the Community Affairs Unit, has met with all segments of the Muslim community, has done an assessment needs to see what the issues are, what the concerns are, and how the city can support us. And I want to name several of the initiatives that I've been a part of that are a testament to Mayor de Blasio via Dr. Sarah Saeed. One of them is actually the Islamic rituals about burial, making sure that the morgue of the city of New York understands what our needs are when we have someone who dies and needs to go to the city morgue. Backlash and discrimination that our community has faced with Donald Trump and others like him. He has spoken out ferociously against Trump every time that he came out and said something negatively about Muslims. And I'm sure many of you remember Mayor Bill de Blasio to greet you.
a tribute to all of you that after all the kindness, all the charity, all that you did for others in this last month, you still are willing to come out here and do something for your city. So I want you to give yourselves a round of applause. I have to say, I've known so many different types of leaders over the years. There are very few couples, power couples you might call them, that reach the level of Debbie and Najee. The partnership they have, the strength of their beliefs, the passion to make change and to better people's lives. You know, what's wonderful is, sometimes when you see a couple, one is outgoing, the other one's shy, or one is optimistic, the other one's pessimistic, or one is high energy, one is low energy, but this couple is two high energy, devoted, passionate agents of change. And both of them, I don't know what they eat for breakfast, but they never stop. They're so full of heart and goodness. Let's applaud them both for all they do. And Dr. Debbie Al-Muneer, congratulations on your doctorate, hard-earned, well-earned. I also want to say that Debbie and Najee are an example of what is supposed to happen in a democracy. I can't tell you how many times over years and years they have educated me, they've alerted me to problems, they've alerted me to ways that we can solve conflicts, they've helped me to understand the perspective of the community and the needs of the community. This is what's supposed to happen in a democracy, and particularly a multicultural democracy. There's supposed to be an openness where we hear each other, we see each other, we strive always to understand each other. But that means there also have to be people who work hard to make sure those bridges are built and that dialogue happens. And this couple's done that. And by the way, that energy, that passion helps because it doesn't always happen the first time. For all of you who fought for the Eid holidays in our schools, the day we announced it, I said many of you had worked for a decade or more. No one said, and I can say this from having worked on many causes.
28 years ago.
Okay, even more than a decade. Thank you for that correction, Najee. I can say having worked on many causes. No one guarantees us that righteousness wins the first time. But it is about continuing to educate, continuing to open doors, continuing to bring people toward that understanding. If you do that enough, and if our democracy is as good as it's supposed to be, then right prevails. And you need to know that we thought very carefully about who to choose for this role. And one of the things I said as we made the decision how important it was to have someone who could represent the interests of the community and help to change the minds of our leaders and agencies of our government. People needed to be educated, they needed to be enlightened, they needed to be shown that there were things they could do better. It takes a certain kind of spirit and intelligence and human ability to simultaneously become trusted and respected within the government, but also continue to every day persistently make change. And I can say already, I've talked to so many of our commissioners and leaders of the different parts of city government, and they've all with one voice come to respect what Sarah says. And she is every day helping this government to serve the community better. Thank you. And a dear sister has arrived as well, and as she, in the work I've had the honor to do, really has been my sister in so many ways. Yvette Clarke and I served in the city council together, and we were allies over and over again. And then she ran for Congress, and I was honored to be her campaign chair. And I ran for mayor, and no one, I have to say, no one in the mainstream, the conventional wisdom category gave me any chance, but Yvette Clarke stood up, the first member of Congress, and for a long time the only member of Congress, to support me when I ran for mayor. And she believed and she put her heart into it. Was one of the people that gave me the opportunity to have this office. And that alone, I could tell you how much that means to me, but I think there's something even better I can say. Not only has she represented her district, including a very substantial Muslim community, with passion and devotion, but she's gone at, with her colleagues, the issue that underlies so much of the pain we're facing in America today. It was Yvette Clarke, along with John Lewis and so many other great progressive leaders of the House of Representatives, that staged that sit-in a few weeks ago saying we will not allow guns to play in our country. I've been involved in progressive political work for decades, and I've seen amazing changes. I've seen things happen that people said were impossible over and over again. You remember when our president was elected, and he said, yes, there are many problems in our country, and there's many challenges still, but any country that can elect a man named Barack Hussein Obama, something's working. That there's that openness and possibility in the American experiment that shows. But when it comes to guns, I have to say, many good people, many people who really had worked hard for change and had seen victories, had seen change happen, felt that maybe when it came to guns, there was something we could never change. There was a sense of some kind of wall between us and the changes we needed. And we saw tragedy after tragedy, and you each time thought maybe this would be the moment, especially after Newtown, and the president articulated this too, maybe this would finally be the moment, and then it wasn't. And people were so distraught. This scourge of guns just continuing to flow throughout our society. But I have never seen anything like a group of elected members of our Congress stage a sit-in in their own body. That was a moment when you know now that change will happen. That was a crossing over to a new America. And Yvette, thank you. Thank you. One other acknowledgement, and then again I'll say just a few words, and I look forward to meeting everyone. I appreciate everything that Debbie and Naji said, so I won't repeat, but it's very kind when people are aware of the things that we've achieved for everyone. But there's something I want to say that I'm also proud of. And I do this when I'm in the Muslim community, and I do it outside the community, and I do it on local television, and I do it on national television. I brag about the 900 members of the Muslim Society at the NYPD. And we appreciate those who sacrifice for us. So these are 900, not only brave people, but 900 examples to this whole country. Thank you. So I'll just say this very quickly. This week I've been talking the last few days about what all this means. It's a test for all of us. It's a challenge, and a very painful one. And one of the most important points is that we have to have the ability in democracy to say more than one thing at a time. We have to have the ability to say we honor our police, we grieve for the fallen police officers in Dallas and for their families. We understand that our police officers are in pain as well, and their families are worried and fearful. We have to feel a unity with them. And at the same time, we have to reject a history that has led to so many horrible and wrongful killings of young men of color. You're being presented already with a false choice. You won't be shocked to know that, once again, when you think about false choices, you immediately think of Mayor Rudolph Giuliani. He's out there again today saying things that are classically divisive and missing so much of the history. It's a false choice to say you either honor the police or you honor our young men of color. We have to honor both, and we have to work for a unity of both. It was a false choice in 2013 as the debate raged about the future of this city. It was a false choice. People like Ray Kelly said, if you ended the policy of stop and frisk, which we all knew was broken and unconstitutional and divisive, and Ray Kelly said over and over again, if you end it, well, you're going to get what you deserve because there will be more crime and there'll be chaos in the city. Well, Bill Bratton and I came in and we said, we're going to end that policy. We're going to respect all people, and especially the young men of color who have been so negatively affected by that policy. We're going to respect people, and guess what? At the same time, we will drive down crime, and that's precisely what we did. Only a false choice. It was a fundamental misunderstanding that you actually get to drive down crime when you bring police and community together, and you can't be as effective when there's a wall between them. So, this week we've experienced with all the pain, there are indicators at the same time of our path forward. I've made the point many times that even as the bullets rained down in Dallas, the police immediately sheltered and shielded the protesters. There was a Black Lives Matter protest yesterday where they stopped to have a moment of silence for the fallen officers in Dallas. These are the signs of healing and overcoming those false choices. Where we have to go requires a recognition of our history. It requires an acknowledgement of the structural racism that's plagued us. It requires an acknowledgement that lives have been lost over and over that shouldn't have been and can't be anymore. And it requires an understanding that the right way to police is with the community embracing the police embracing the community, people feeling that they're actually together trying to achieve a better society. And one thing I'll finish with, the idea of neighborhood policing that we've now instituted is growing all over the city. Talked about for decades but never achieved before. We aim to achieve it in this city for the very first time. Our officers will work in the same community consistently, get to know the members of that community as people, as human beings. They'll get to understand what the community needs, what the community feels, and the community will get to see the officers not just as a uniform and a badge, but a human being with a uniform and a badge. And the commonality, the common humanity will start to come to the fore, because what does everyone want? Everyone wants to go home safely that night. Every member of a community and every police officer. Everyone wants respect. People don't want conflict. They want to feel understood, uplifted, embraced. It's true whether you wear a uniform or whether you don't. I've used an analogy, and I'll use it one more time because I think it's helpful, and I'd ask you to spread this point. We all come from different countries of the world, and for many, many New Yorkers, it's one generation, 2 generations, 3 generations ago. For others, many generations ago. What we all have absolutely in common, whatever continent you come from, not so long ago, in our families' lives, came from someplace else, and we most likely came from a village. We didn't come from a big city. We came from a village. I've been to the villages that my grandparents came from. And maybe in our generation, maybe because we're more honest about that history, maybe because we're ready to build a different kind of society, maybe for the first time we can look that history in the face and sweep it away. For the first time, maybe we can restore that idea that our guardians are of and by and for us. And remember what we had in those villages and create it again in our time. That's our hope for New York City. Thank you.
Yvette Clark is a congresswoman from my district in Brooklyn, one of the most outstanding, outspoken advocate for our community ever. The only one to ever shut down Peter King in his big mouth. In the hearings, shutting down cold. And without any hesitation whatsoever, my sister, my lovely sister, one of my best sisters as an elected official, and one of my favorite politicians Sister Congresswoman Yvette Clarke.
Taking the time from your busy schedules for answering the call of Najee and Debbie to be here to support our mayor. I am very, very close to the gentleman to my right. We sat next to each other in the New York City Council when we were first elected. And we had an opportunity to discuss a number of the issues that were impacting our communities. We had a lot of time to joke with one another about how foolish some things were that were being said in our presence. But we had a commitment to the development, to the strengthening of the communities that we represented in Brooklyn. Just so happens that the mayor is my constituent, as well as Debbie and Najee. And I felt a kinship. I actually call the mayor my brother, and my other nickname for him is Tall Man. And I felt comfortable enough to give him that nickname because he was always on a righteous path. He was always someone who really gave thought, a lot of breadth and depth to the debate and dialogue that was taking place, and was inclusive in his view to how to address the challenges of our city. So refreshing that we just gravitated to one another. So you've heard everything about what our mayor has done so far. I believe that he's looking for many more things to do, that his job is not over, it has just begun. It has changed the spirit with which service is given to the people of this city, whether it's him or him in partnership with the city council. I think we all feel a difference in the way in which things are discussed in our town. And I think his leadership has pulled us all in that direction. And there's no need to depart from it right now. There's much more work to be done, so I want to encourage each and every one here today. I'm about empowering communities. All of you have heard my story, or many of you, that my parents were immigrants to this country as well. And it took some time for the Caribbean community from which my parents came to really come of age in terms of exercising their rights. Like many in the Muslim community, let me tell you, Jamaicans were stigmatized as well. They were the drug dealing, gun toting disruptors of the community. And everyone, no matter what island you were from, if you had an accent, you were Jamaican. So the whole Caribbean community got it. But it was communities like the Muslim community standing shoulder to shoulder with the Caribbean community, the African American community, and since we're a blend, is there many from the Caribbean who are Muslim? There are many in the African American community who are Muslim. Since we are a blend of one family, that coming of age enabled us to elect a lot of people in our town. So what I want to say to you is that the Muslim American community is coming of age. And one of the things that I want us to really take very seriously is the franchise, the vote. The vote. That is the ultimate tool for liberation in the United States of America. We can say as much rhetoric as we want. We can get as infuriated with what people say as we want. But if we don't demonstrate where we're coming from on election days, then we leave it to those who would divide us, to those who would stigmatize us, to those who would spew hatred, to be out there continuing with that behavior. You know what shuts people up? When they lose the election. They may get a radio show here or there, but at the end of the day, they're not in a position to do more harm. So I want to encourage everyone today, as our community becomes citizens, the next step, the immediate step, is to register to vote. That is an imperative. As our children come of age, the next thing is for them to register to vote. The things that our mayor is doing today is not just for this generation, but for generations to come. And the only way we will maintain that path of progress is at every turn, at every election, we show up and we vote our preferences. So in his venture for a next term, I will be out there in the community sharing with everyone my experience with this man. And I say to each and every one once again, part of the strength of this country is the ability to influence it through our participation. Let us not let anyone put fear ahead of our desire to move forward. Let us move forward with courage and righteousness, and we will win.